talked about commitment, kind of kicked this off, and we talked, I felt like we kind of landed on this place of, felt like we landed on this place of just, what is kind of our motivation for commitment? We talked about to understand what something is, you have to first understand what it's not. So we walked through some of those things, and so this week, I wanted to start out with just something that really it has everything to do with everything I do with university students, because that's primarily what I work with. So, and one of the things that I always say is the most important thing about you is what you think about when you think about God. We're coming in this kind of day and age when, to be really honest with you, we have to define the terms, because no longer can we look at someone and assume that they understand what we mean when we say God. You know, and so the thing I kick off with college students all the time is the most important thing about you is what you think about God. And so when we talk about that, if you think that God is distant, you'll live your life in such a way that God is distant or He's hands off. It's a deistic approach to much of life. And so if you think, and much of our understanding of God is based on our understanding of our earthly fathers. And so if your earthly father was absent, more than likely God is absent in your mind. And so we start to really just kind of see some things shift when we start to really define who God is. And so some of us come in with kind of a concept of who He is, and then we actually start diving into groups like this, or we start diving into His Word, or start engaging Him in prayer, and then we come out the other side and we see that He's actually different than what we kind of came in understanding. And so when Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life, we take this word truth. The word truth there is actually meaning this kind of ultimate reality. Like, I am the ultimate reality. Colossians will say it this way, that Jesus Christ is the ultimate reality. Everything else is a shadow of what is to come. And so Jesus is the reality. And sometimes we make out God, we take that word truth, and we just act like it's the facts on a spreadsheet. Or it's a list of kind of propositional statements that we check off on. And that's not who Christ is. And so I'll give you an example. If you've ever had a concept of, that you may have perceived that this is someone that it's not, that it turns out that person is actually different than what you thought. I had a couple roommates, Daniel Dabney. How many of you know Daniel Dabney? Leads worship here, one of my best friends, and years ago we had an apartment together. Me, Daniel Dabney, a guy Brad McMahon, and a guy Reggie Ball. We did not get back our security deposit. I will promise you that. So we're in this apartment. The way our apartment was laid out is you walk into the apartment, and there was like this shotgun kind of hallway that goes to the very back, and that was one of the bedrooms. And so I was in the bedroom, and I'm studying for a message or something, and I hear somebody knock on the door. Well, if you know Daniel's not that tall of a dude, okay? So he's kind of on his tiptoes looking through the people. Brad was gone. It was just Daniel and I there. And so Brad was getting married. They went out looking for a house, and he turns around and he said, dude, it's Brad. And he's like, as soon as I open this door, you jump out and you just scare Brad, because his hands are full of bags. And I said, dude, I'm down. Like, I got in like 3-point stance. And so he said, on the count of 3. And the way you would open the door, and so this person can kind of hide behind the door. And he said, on the count of 3, you just jump out. He goes, 1, 2, 3. And I jump out. Whoa! And it was the UPS man. He stepped back. I won't repeat what he said. But he steps back and he is like, dang, bro, all I need you to do is sign this. And I'm like, bro, I just woke up. I don't know what's going on. Daniel's over in fetal position. The guy can't see him. He's literally in fetal position, and he just is laughing hysterically. He's like, it actually happened. Like, it went through to fruition. He's like, And so but we do that all the time. We end up opening the door and we're like, whoa, you are different than what I thought. And so the thing that I said last week is our commitments in everyday life. And I know this is about kind of sex, love, and dating. And so, but our commitments in everyday life, especially to the other, whoever the other is, and for some of you it may be a spouse, for some of you that are single, it's whoever the other is, whether it be a coworker, a friend, someone you're dating, whatever that is. Our commitment to God has everything to do with those commitments, or vice versa. Those commitments have everything to do with our commitment to God. And there's a lot of folks that are trying to navigate through what a commitment is without first understanding what does a commitment to God really look like. And so last week I had shared, that was the very thing that we were going to kind of land on this week. If God is nothing more than the facts on a spreadsheet, if He's nothing more than the facts on a spreadsheet, you're going to find out that God is actually drastically different. When I asked my wife to marry me, her father came over to the house, and they don't have a great relationship. Okay, I shared a lot of my wife's story last week. But I'm doing this. I have respect for her family, and so he comes over, and I said, hey, here's the thing. I just cut straight to it. I'm not here for conversation. I'm like, I love you, but I said, I want to marry your daughter. And I remember, I'll never forget it. He looked at me, and he said, are you sure about that? He said, she has an attitude. Like, I don't know if I want to punch in your throat or if I just want to, I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, yeah, she does. I've seen it, But I'm like, not what I expected. And so she has an attitude. And I go,